I am talking about the great Congressman Greg Steube, who returns to the show. Hey, man.
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing?
Listen, solid shout out till I saw that Kamek got one too. I'm kidding. She's the best.
Yeah, but she didn't hit a home run, so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You got actual formal home run shout out from the president. That was pretty badass, no?
He should be there this year. You couldn't hear me talking, but I said, "You're going to be there this year, right?" And he said, "Yeah, if you're playing, I'll be there." So hopefully. For all your listeners, it's June 11th, the big game.
I love this. And listen, the guy likes the sporting events. He's going to the Super Bowl, too.
Okay.
What is so fascinating about this moment in time is you can't argue. No one could. Trump is as tapped into the will of the people as maybe any politician we've ever had in this position when you talk about the agenda that he's implementing. So my question to you is, the people opposing this, whether it's the spending cuts, whether it's the deportation, like what's actually in it for them? Because these aren't popular positions they're taking, and there's no world where the country isn't on Trump's side.
Yeah, well, for Politico, it's losing millions of dollars through USAID from backdoor funding deals. For Democrats, it's, payments to Hunter Biden from Ukraine and all these other things, the Chinese Communist Party paying the Biden family. So there's these programs that I'm sure there's backdooring corrupt officials in some way, shape, or form. And then there's probably, 25% of the country, 20% of the country that thinks that biological men should be able to play in women's sports. And they're so ideological, messed up, in my opinion, to think that that's accurate. But that's a 70 to 80% issue. Even if you look at Democrats, don't think that boys should be in girls' sports. And what's funny is, he did the EO yesterday. We passed my bill in the House. It's sitting in the Senate, which probably won't pass because you need some 60 votes over.
Yeah.
So, that's probably not going to pass. But at least Thune will put all these Democrats on the board that are in tough races next cycle, like Ossoff in Georgia. Yeah. If Thune brings this bill up for a vote, which I expect he will once we get through all the confirmations, that's a tough vote for him. Is he going to vote with the woke, crazy, progressive left, or is he going to vote for common sense? Because he's up for election in Georgia in 26 is will be the most highly contested pickup seats in the Senate for us.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game. Representative Greg Steube is on the phone from the great state of Florida. It's fascinating to me because their pitch is that they're somehow the party of women, but they're fighting to let the murderers and the rapists stay in the country. And, of course, they're certainly not leveling the playing field for women in sports with the positions they're taking. So I really do think on the left right now, I think most people know that they're in the minority in terms of the issue, but I think there's a battle taking place because there's kind of a vacancy at the top of that party. And I think a lot of the pushback, even though it comes from an unpopular position, is more of an effort to gain relevance. Can you see a world where that's the motivation?
Well, and what's interesting is it's so unpopular with the majority of America that they would bow down. I mean, this is a die on the hill issue for most progressives. Yeah, this is a die on the hill issue that they think that trans men should be able to play in women's sports or trans women or whatever the nomenclature is. But if you want to win a presidential race in the Democratic Party or win some of these tough Senate races coming up, that's not a popular position. So as you said, there's not a leader right now in their party. It'll be interesting to see who that ends up being, but I can't see them being very vocal about this because they know it's not a winnable issue. I mean, Trump won every swing state in our country, and I believe that a lot of that, it was because of the border and it was because of all these other horrible policies the Democrats had. But I believe that the Democratic women, suburban women, independent women, especially those that have daughters that are playing sports, cared very much about this issue and voted based on how the presidential candidate is on this issue.
That's a great point. And the other thing I would say is that kind of squares with the USAID cuts. The Democrats can't defend what the money was being spent on. So they're trying to characterize this as some type of discrimination or hostile government takeover. But you really don't hear anybody out there going, and by the way, we do need a transgender comic book in Ecuador. You can't really take that position, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's just a couple. $20 million to create a Sesame Street television program in Iraq. $2 million to fund Moroccan pottery classes. $2.9 million to the Taliban for taxes, fees, duties, and utility payments. I mean, I could go on. $70,000 for a DEI opera in Ireland. I mean, I don't know how you, even as a Democratic member of Congress, could defend our tax dollars that are hardworking Americans are paying should go to Morocco for pottery classes or to Iraq for Sesame Street television.
There's no one sitting around a dinner table going, we can't pay for groceries this month. But did you hear about that musical in Ireland? And that's why it's done. But that is why it's done. The president weighed in on the Super Bowl. This is kind of off topic, but you got Stubby has to have a pick. You're the best athlete in Congress. Do you think Mahomes takes it, or do you see the Eagles showing up?
Well, I think the Eagles will show up. I think there's a lot of us, like I'm a Bucks fan because I'm from Florida, Southwest Florida, so I'm a Bucks guy. But I think there's this tenor in the country of anybody but Kansas City,
for sure,
because they've won it so many times. But you can't deny the talent that Mahomes and the team has. So it'll be interesting to see. But I was seeing some article about how the Eagles have the largest front line ever in the history of any football team. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch their offensive line. If they can protect the quarterback, they'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think your best bet if you're trying to make money is the over 15 beers in my house, because it's going down. I'm off the air. I'm not on TV or radio on Sunday. We're going in the Failer House. There's a reason we booked you today and not Monday. I don't know that there'll be anything left of me on Monday. But let me give you this to keep you on message. The border situation. Trump said the first flight back to Gitmo is lifted off, and they're on their way with doing that. Essentially, what I read this as when I saw that El Salvador was even, committing to take some of our violent criminals, is the world understands that this isn't a negotiation when it comes to the border. Like, this isn't an opening position in a negotiation. Like, our policy is we adamantly are securing the border, throwing these people out, and there's not wiggle room, is there?
No. And what's amazing is Venezuela, sends a flight back and says, we're not going to take our people back. And then Trump from a golf course tweets that he's going to put a 25% tariff. Every one of their officials can't get a visa. Those visas are revoked. We're going to institute all of these things. And suddenly, like less than 24 hours later, they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll come and pick them up. So having strength in the White House suddenly changes people's positions very quickly, where in the previous administration, obviously they wanted an open border, but they would have, the moment another country would have pushed back on the Biden administration on a decision and been like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, we don't want to upset the Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Where you have a president now who stands for America first and peace through strength, and you have countries, just basically falling over themselves to make sure that they're doing what President Trump wants them to do. He is having a positive conservative effect on the entire world right now by the policies that he's implementing here in America.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch, because what he's doing with the leverage he has as an American president is what any president technically could do, but doesn't necessarily have the instincts or the political will to do it. If you got the biggest economy and the biggest military, you really don't have to take that much crap from people, but you're right to say the last administration did. And if they would have pushed back on Biden, he would have sent them $2 million for a drag show, and we would have called it a day. So I like that the world is getting the message. Do you think that is also resonating in areas like the Panama Canal, where, Rubio went down there and essentially got them to play more ball with us and less ball with China?
Yeah, Marco was just down there, and they already said that they're getting out of the roads and belts initiative that they got into with China.
Yeah.
So just Trump having a position, and Marco and our leaders in the cabinet going out and exercising an America First position on these issues are completely changing the way that these countries have treated us in the past 4 years, and reversing policies that they put in place. And it's going to make America stronger. It's going to make our economy stronger. It's going to make the dollar stronger. And people will be looking to us and President Trump for leadership.
Yeah, it's a wild time, man. But you really do feel like we're living in just a better moment now, where the country has kind of regained its footing in the world. And it's honestly, the world is better for having it, because there's such a vacuum when we are not the leader of the pack. But I definitely think if anyone who's watched the last 17 days understands, we're definitely living in a better world. Listen, man,
feel it in Washington. There's a different spirit Washington today than there was a couple months ago.
It's so fascinating to me, because there's such a resentment of what he does. And they cloaked all of their political opposition in democracy and respecting democracy. But they're so far on the wrong end of democracy in terms of what the people want that I would guess, to the point you just made, have some of these people just accepted that this is the thing. I don't doubt there's a resistance, but that energy you talk about, is that, just the dawn of a new day in Washington?
Yeah, it's the golden age of America that Trump talks about. And it is a palpable feeling up here in Washington. Trump talked about it in the prayer breakfast this morning. But you can feel it. You can feel there is a lighter air up here. The darkness has lifted. You have people working for what's best in the country. And all this noise from the mainstream media, after he won every swing state, it's just noise, and that's exactly what it is. The American people aren't listening to it because they don't believe it anymore, because it's all propaganda. And we're entering into that golden age for America, and Trump's leading the way.
Listen, I will drink to that, man. Enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend and keep playing good ball out there.
Too.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon. The great